Hello, everyone. I'm Rakesh, and welcome to this session on how to leverage analytics to secure privileged accounts. Thank you so much for joining us today for this interesting session. A quick introduction about me before we start. I'm one of the product managers at ManageEngine, and I'm primarily involved in product design and building integrations with ManageEngine and other third-party applications for our analytics software, that is Analytics Plus. I've worked with multiple ManageEngine products over the past 9 years. I started off as a pre-sales and support engineer and helped implement our ManageEngine solutions for various customers around the globe before moving into product management. Some basics before we start. You can use the questions panel on the right side bottom part of your screen to post your questions at any time during the course of this webinar, and I'll be happy to get back to you with the answers as soon as I complete the session. You can also feel free to email me directly at the email address that is flashing on your screen, that is rakesh.j@zohocorp.com. I'm sure most of you who have joined us today use ManageEngine's Password Manager Pro to manage and securely share access to privileged accounts in your company. I'm going to be using Password Manager Pro as an example of a password or privileged account management software, but the things that we're going to discuss today applies to other privileged account management software that you might be using as well. So Password Manager Pro, for example, does a fantastic job at fortifying your passwords and establishing better control over who has access to critical resources and privileged accounts. However, establishing control doesn't completely prevent password abuse or mean you are shielded from misuse completely. Hackers will always find ways to work around the system and make your security measures look like this gate, which is, let's say, not doing a great job at stopping anything. Now, I'm going to show you an interesting set of cases here on my screen here, which you might have already been aware of. And all of these are cases of trusted employees of various organizations who misused their access privileges that were given to them and leaked confidential information for various reasons, ranging from monetary benefits to taking revenge on employees or the company that they were working for. Out of all the ways your data could get exposed, the most difficult to spot is insider threat. It is quite challenging to spot such actions, primarily because the perpetrators in these cases are people whom you tend to trust with some of the most critical resources in your organization. So this goes to show that the control that you establish has to be backed up with constant monitoring and analysis to prevent misuse. Now, Password Manager Pro users should be aware that the application maintains a complete and detailed set of audit logs of all activity that is performed with respect to privileged account access. These audit logs are a great way to keep track of all the users and resource related activity. As you can see, there is a massive amount of information you have at your disposal, and you can also use the search box here to look for specific information that you are interested in. Now, this is a great option if you know what you are looking for, but that is a big if, because when you wish to monitor suspicious activity, there is a range of different things that you have to look for and correlate before you start making assumptions. It would make a world of difference if you have something that can automatically suck all this information and lays it out to you in a way that can be easily consumed, wouldn't it? That is exactly where an analytics application can really help you. So, in this session, we are going to talk about how analytics can help with spotting anomalies when it comes to analyzing privileged user behavior. We're also going to look at how we can gather insights on gathering insights on password usage patterns, and also find ways to effectively manage critical resources and user accounts in your organization. So to demonstrate these capabilities, I'm going to use ManageEngine Analytics Plus, which is a business intelligence and analytics solution from ManageEngine. Now, Analytics Plus has recently come out with out-of-the-box integration with Password Manager Pro, and this graphic here sort of represents, in a nutshell, what Analytics Plus can do with data from Password Manager Pro. So as soon as you connect the application, it does automatic analysis of your data and gives you over 50 different dashboards and reports that give you a lot of insight on how passwords or privileged accounts are being used in your organization. In addition to these reports and dashboards, you can of course create your own reports and dashboards using the drag and drop report builder. And in addition to that, the application also offers a powerful formula engine using which you can create a lot of calculated metrics. Now, you have a set of information or data that you receive from Password Manager Pro, but on top of those metrics that you receive, you can create calculated metrics such as percentage of accounts which comply with your password policy, or things like the average number of times a particular user accesses privileged accounts in your organization, and so on. And this information can be represented in over 30 different visualizations. The application usually automatically picks up and suggests the right type of visualization for the data that you're trying to visualize, but you have options to switch between 30 different visualizations ranging from bar charts to map charts to pie charts and so on. So what this really does is it lets you visually analyze password or privileged account access behavior. So setting up this integration is pretty simple. I'm going to quickly show you how you can go about setting up the integration. So first of all, you'll have to download the ManageEngine Analytics Plus application and set it up on one of your servers. It can very well sit on the server in which Password Manager Pro is already running in, provided the server has enough resources to run both the applications. So as soon as you set up the integration as soon as you set up the application and log into the application, you're going to see a set of tiles like this, which display the different ways using which you can import information into Analytics Plus. And one of the options that you will see is Password Manager Pro. You can click on the Password Manager Pro tile here, and you should see a little help card which talks about the different steps involved in setting up this integration. And it's pretty straightforward. All you need to do is key in your instance URL or the web address that you use to access Password Manager Pro, and then click on Generate App Token. And as soon as you do that, you will get a little pop-up which will ask you for your username and password that you use to log into Password Manager Pro, after which the application will display an auth token. And you need to just paste the auth token in this space here and then click on Authorize Password Manager Pro, and that is pretty much it. The application connects to Password Manager Pro and also periodically synchronizes with the application so that you always have the most recent data being set up in Analytics Plus. So as soon as you set up the integration, like I said, you should see over 50 different reports and dashboards created in a workspace. So this is what it's going to look like. So as soon as you set up this integration, you're going to see a bunch of dashboards and reports on various different aspects of privileged account access management, starting with user activity, password operations, account summary, resource analytics, and operational analytics. So coming back to our discussion point, that is establishing better control and monitoring access to privileged accounts in your organization. So before you set out to find the bad guys, you should start from the basics. Now, the first step I would recommend is take stock of the different accounts that are managed in Password Manager Pro, and also the list of users who have access to those accounts. Now, Password Manager Pro has this amazing feature that lets you share passwords to users temporarily. This ensures that users are only given access to the accounts they need and only for a specified period of time. If you're not using it or have only adopted it recently, chances are that there may be users out there who have access to accounts that they don't necessarily need to have access to. Now, the best way to spot that is using this report, which tells you the users by account access. So this is a default report that is available as part of the integration between Analytics Plus and Password Manager Pro. And it's a great way to take stock of all the users and the different permissions they have across the different accounts. And all the reports in Analytics Plus are highly interactive and let you analyze information comprehensively. So let's say at this particular point in time, I'm not really interested in looking at the accounts each of these users own. I can simply remove that from this by unchecking the accounts that are owned by the different users. Now I can see that this particular guest user here has modified password access to 9 different accounts. Now, when you're analyzing reports, you're going to look at or come across situations where something catches your eye. Now, in this particular case, I would probably want to see the list of accounts that this particular user has modified password access to. Now, in situations like these, I don't have to go in and create a whole separate report. All I need to do is use the drill down feature, which will let me analyze further into this report. So in order to drill down, I need to click on the section of the report that I'm interested in. And as soon as I click on the section of the report, I'm going to get 2 options. One is view underlying data, and the other option is drill down by. Now, since I want to drill down by the user accounts, I'm just going to click on drill down by, and from the columns, I'm going to choose user accounts. Now, this is going to let me drill down by the user account and display all the different user accounts this particular user, that is the guest user, has modified password access to. And as you can see, these are interactive reports which will let you drill down further. And in this case, if I discover that this user has been given unnecessary access to these accounts, I can go ahead and revoke access immediately from Password Manager Pro. Another way of looking at this information is from the perspective of resources. The resources with the widest user access shows the resources by the number of users who have access to the various accounts on these resources. And this is a good way to identify if access to critical resources, hosting business critical applications are widely shared across your organization. As a best practice, you should always ensure not too many users have access to accounts on business critical resources. So once you have a fair idea of the users their access permissions, and the resources that are managed, you should shift your attention towards operations performed by your users. Like I mentioned earlier, the user and resource audits in Password Manager Pro is a great way to go through all the operations performed by users, but it's going to be painstakingly hard because of the sheer volume of information. Luckily, using Analytics Plus, you can easily mine this information and find insights instantly. Analytics Plus is equipped with an analytics assistant called Zia, and Zia is powered by machine learning and natural language processing. So the machine learning part helps Zia understand the data that you're analyzing, and the natural language processing part helps Zia understand questions in plain English and respond with the most appropriate answers. So in this particular case, I want to see the different operations that are performed by users when it comes to privileged account access. So I'm going to say or ask Zia to show me the user operations. Now, Zia is going to automatically understand what you're asking for and respond with a number. So right now, what I'm seeing is the total number of user operations performed in the application. But this information is not that useful unless I can see the operations by the different operation types. So I'm going to add to my original question and ask Zia to show me the operations by the operation type. And as and when you type your question, you're going to get suggestions from Zia. So if you're not really sure what to type in, you can always use the suggestions that are displayed in the little drop down. All right, so right now I'm asking Zia to show me these operations by the operation type, and all I need to do is just hit enter. Zia is going to respond by giving me a bar graph which splits those 7,000 odd operations by the different operation types. Now I can do a bunch of things from here. I can choose to add this report to a dashboard, or I can save this report to my workspace, or I can use the edit option to customize this report further. Now, right now I'm going to click on the edit option so that I can do some additional customization. Now, let's say I am only interested in the top 10 operations performed by users on a regular basis. I can go ahead and add those conditions on to this report. So in order to do that, I need to go to the filter section and drop the operation type, choose count from this drop down, and choose top 10. So as soon as I choose this, the conditions are applied, and all I need to do right now is click here to generate graph, and now the report is going to refresh with only the top 10 operations performed on a regular basis in my password management application. I can go ahead and further customize this report. Let's say I only want to see operations from a specified time period. I can add user filters, which will filter the data based on the different time period. So in order to do that, I'm going to drop the timestamp onto the user filter section, and I'm going to customize this a little bit to make it easy for me to choose the different time periods. So I'm going to choose relative period from the component type, and I'm going to say or choose last 5 days, last 30 days, and also let me also add a custom time frame, let's say last 7 days. Now, once I click on OK and generate graph, I have these time frames listed on a little drop down here. And using this, I can filter data for a specific time period based on my needs. So let's say I only want to look at data for the last 30 days. The application automatically refreshes, showing me the top 10 operations performed in the last 30 days. And it looks like the most frequent operation that is happening is password retrieval failure. Let's see if that is the case in the last 7 days as well. Yes, it is. So in the last 7 and 30 days, the most frequent operation that is happening is password retrieval failure. And this is a clear indicator that someone is trying to view passwords with little success. And this could mean a bunch of different things. This could mean that someone is probably trying to retrieve a password that they no longer have access to. Or it could also mean someone is attempting to retrieve a password using an invalid help desk ticket ID. That is in case you set up a ticketing system integration so that users have to enter a valid ticket ID in order to access passwords. Or it could also mean that someone is probably trying to break into your server or your application. So this report is a great way to catch such anomalies. But one might argue that when you're only looking at the top 10 operations, it may be easy to overlook malicious and important operations that may occur less frequently. And you can solve that problem using another report here, which highlights all the important operations by resource type. And this solves this problem by highlighting the most important operations with a potential to cause disruption and lays it down by the different resource types such as Windows, IBM AS400, etc. Now this way there's a less chance that you are missing out on something important. And the list of operations here are something that we have handpicked, but of course you can customize the conditions on this report and include other operations that you would probably want to keep an eye on. Now, it's a given that not everyone has the time to keep watching these reports on a daily or on an hourly basis. Wouldn't it be great if someone notified you of a critical operation performed on these resources without you having to keep constantly checking on this report? Now, using the alerting feature in Analytics Plus, you can set up alert profiles to notify you when important operations are performed. So let's say I want to be notified when someone modifies a resource. Now, in order to do that, I can just go to the alert option on the right-hand side top corner and click on create alert. Let's give this alert a name. Let's call it resource modifications. And I can choose conditions from this little drop down here. So my condition is going to be operation type contains resource modification. And there it is. Now, if I wish to, I can add more conditions onto this list. So let's say I only want to be notified of resource modifications when it comes to Windows servers or desktops. I can add that condition onto this alert and specify how often I want Analytics Plus to check for these operations using this little drop down here. And there are a bunch of ways or a couple of ways by which I can get notified when such operations occur. I can either be notified via email, wherein I can also include this report to be sent out as an inline message or as an attachment along with the email, or I can also choose to set up in-app notifications, wherein a notification will be listed on the top right corner of my Analytics Plus application, and then click on save. So that way, when a resource is modified in the future, I'll automatically get an alert. So those are a couple of examples of watching for specific actions and getting notified when such actions occur. Another important aspect of privileged account management is anomaly detection. An anomaly, simply stated, is something that occurs outside of the ordinary. And when it comes to privileged account activity, out of the ordinary could mean a lot of different things. The password anomaly detector, let me just find that. The password access anomaly detector report, which again is an out-of-the-box report that is available with this integration, watches the average number of password access operations and highlights the days when password access operations are unusually high. You have to apply some due diligence when you observe such anomalies. Now, when you see something like this, some of the things that you should consider are were these attempts to access the password successful or were these failures? It goes without saying that password retrieval failures need further analysis and a little more of digging down deeper to find out what really happened. You should also find out who are the different users who have accessed those accounts and what is their role in the organization. And another important thing to consider is whether a scheduled maintenance or a downtime happened on that particular day. Because during a scheduled maintenance or downtime, technicians might be accessing critical resources to fix them and get them back up online, which could explain the cause for the spike. So, answers to these questions could isolate incidents and identify if further analysis is needed or if the anomaly occurred as part of regular operations. You can apply a similar logic to any other type of operation that you would like to keep tabs on. And yes, of course, alerts can be configured for anomalies as well so that you receive email notifications when a pre-configured baseline is breached. Some businesses may run 24/7, whereas some run only, let's say, between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So, depending on the type of business you are, you may have to watch the non business hour operations accordingly. The operations performed during non business hours, which is highlighted by this report here, gives you a daily trend of operations that occur during non-business hours. Now here I'm considering 8 p.m. to 9 a.m. as the non-business hour, but you can of course tweak it according to your core business working hours. So as a general practice, users should not be performing activities other than password retrievals, password requests, session initiation during non-business hours. But when you see actions such as account deletions, resource additions, or transfer, it could be a cause for concern because you can assume that operations performed during non-business hours happen with lesser supervision. Further, if you wish to get answers from users before making assumptions of misuse, you can quickly tag users on this report using the commenting feature. Now, this takes collaboration to a whole new level because when you notice things that are suspicious on your report, you might have to probably, let's say, check with the shift supervisor to identify if it is a authorized action or if it was something that was done without proper supervision. So in such cases, you can simply tag people like, for example, the shift supervisor on this report. Now let's say I tag John and ask him if he knows why someone has deleted an account during non-business hours. I can just tag John here and say, why has there been account deletions during non-business hours? And now after I type this message or question, I just hit enter. And now this message gets posted as a comment on this report. And in turn, John will receive an email with this question with a link which will bring John to this particular report. That way you're establishing context. John can also take a look at the report or the activity that you're talking about before he can he can reply with an answer or tag someone else on this report whom he thinks would know the reasons behind such actions. This way, analytics helps catch such actions and lets you analyze reasons behind suspicious activity and establish better monitoring. So, those are a few examples of how you can spot anomalies, closely monitor privileged account usage, and establish better control over users and resources. This is just a few examples that I've picked, but besides these reports, Analytics Plus offers out of the box dashboards to cover an array of different actions that could occur when it comes to privileged account access. For example, one of the dashboards that I really like is the anomaly detection dashboard, which highlights the things that you may have to pay attention to. For example, decrease or increase in the number of non-business hour operations. The most frequent non-business hour operation in my case, which is password retrieval failure, the increase or decrease in the number of sessions that are initiated during non-business hours, the most widely accessed resource, the number of authentication failures, the most number of unauthorized access done by a specific person. All these things are highlighted in the anomaly detection dashboard. And I also have an operations overview, which is very good in case you want to sort of get an idea of the number of resources and accounts, user activity on privileged accounts. So you have the split up of administrative operations that are performed, the password access anomaly detector, which we talked about a little while earlier, the number of password requests that are happening for different resources, the revoked access history, account additions and deletions, a number of successful and unsuccessful password changes and all that. So the whole idea of this dashboard is to sort of give you an idea of the different actions and the activity that is happening in your privileged accounts. And finally, let me close by showing you the password insight dashboard, which talks about different metrics such as the number of passwords expired, number of passwords which are expiring this week, the password synchronization levels, the number of password or the policy violations, password compliance, and passwords that have not been changed in the last 90 days, and so on. So this dashboard again is aimed at giving you insight into the different passwords and the password compliance levels in your organization. That way, Analytics Plus sort of gives you insight into how privileged accounts are managed in your organization. So if you're wanting to set up closer monitoring when it comes to privileged account access, these are the steps that you should follow. You should take stock of the different resources and the different users who have access to these critical resources in your organization, and you need to closely watch the different operations performed by users. That way you can establish a baseline, and it becomes all the more easy for you to spot anomalies when they occur once you have an established baseline. And analytics in general gives you a visual way of analyzing your audits so that you don't have to go through them individually. And by visually analyzing the different audit logs, it makes it all the more easy for you to track or spot actions that shouldn't be happening with your privileged accounts. And finally, setting up notifications could help notify you of potentially harmful activity, and these notifications can help you prevent some detrimental actions before they occur. So that sums up my presentation. And if you're interested in setting up this integration between Analytics Plus and Password Manager Pro, feel free to scan this QR code from my screen, which will take you to the free 30-day trial. You can set it up on one of your servers and synchronize it with your Password Manager Pro, and the application can automatically analyze your resource information, user activity, audit logs, and give you detailed analysis of how privileged accounts are used in your organization. So that brings us to the end of my session. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed this. In the next few months, we're going to be looking at specific use cases where analytics can really help you establish and catch suspicious activity when it comes to privileged accounts. So stay tuned for that. So thank you for attending this webinar. I hope you found it useful, and I'll meet you again with another really interesting topic very soon. Thank you.